So we add that in there to make sure it pauses before it continues. Now the shell execute is the reason we included the windows.h header file right here. That command is in that header file. And honestly, I am not too familiar with the arguments this takes. I know that the first one needs to be null. You need L open for the second one. That's the command to do to open the file. And then we need to give it a location. So we're going to use, now in C++, the backslash is a character, what's called an escape character. And it's the same with quotations. If you use a quotation here, then it will cut off the string. Well, if you use a backslash quotation like you saw, you know what, that's too complicated. Just know that you need to use 2 backslashes, not a single backslash. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here. If you're very curious on why that is, please PM me or comment and I will explain it to you when I'm not doing a tutorial and thinking about 1,000 other things. That's no good. So this is the location of my particular, it can be different for you. It's probably going to be different for you, obviously, because unless your name is Jeff, which is great. I like you already. And so that's the location of the file with double backslashes. And then the next 2 arguments are null. Oops. Make sure to capitalize. And then the last argument is SW_show normal. And what that does is instead of showing it maximized or activating it, it will just bring the window from Notepad up and you will see at the end what that looks like. And that, my friends, is our main function. So that's all the program is doing. Since we have these 2 functions, our main function is very short, cuts right to the chase. Oh, but we forgot one major part. We need to return 0. We need to return something because we said that main returns an integer, and that 0 tells us that everything went well. So now I'm going to make a comment here. I forgot to explain these are comments with the 2 forward slashes. Information for video. You might remember, I think that's the same in Python in our original Python tutorial. And while I'm at it, let me make sure okay, everything's still working. Let me make sure this is still okay. Just want to make sure I'm not talking to myself here. So I just put a comment explaining what this function does, and we're going to actually define the functions that we declared earlier. So I hope you're getting an idea of what the difference is. And actually we can just go up here and without the semicolon, just copy and paste that. And then what we want to do is open bracket. That always starts off a function. And now we're going to actually write the meat and potatoes of our program, what it's actually going to do. So the cout puts a whatever you're going to type right here, so title of video. It prints it to the console window. And then we're going to use the command getLine, which gets the entire line of whatever the user enters. It takes 2 arguments, this cin, which is the input stream, so whatever the user's typing on their keyboard, and title. So what this is doing is getLine takes whatever's in here, whatever the user's typing on the keyboard, and puts it in the variable title. So when this function returns, since we use references, this title will be changed, this function will send it back, and then back in the main function title will be changed. If we didn't make them references, then title would only be changed in this function. When we return to main, it would still be 2 quotation marks or null. So, that was a mouthful. Now we want /n is an escape sequence, meaning that we do a return statement. So this will show up on a new line after the title of video. So this is going to be our walkthrough type, because I do 3 different types of walkthroughs for my own channel. I do a walkthrough, a blind walkthrough, or a playthrough. And really, I guess blind walkthrough and playthroughs are pretty much the same thing, but for the sake of this, we'll put it like that. And so what the user will do is enter a character, walkthrough for, or W for walkthrough, B for blind, or P for playthrough. We'll get that character and put it in that character reference type choice. And that will tell us what type of video it is, and it will add on an appropriate suffix. you'll see what I'm saying. I know, again, it probably sounds like Chinese right now. You'll see what I'm saying when we run the program. You will understand a lot more. So add on suffix, oops, can't spell, to title based on type of video. And this will default to narrated walkthrough, because that's what most of mine are. And if the user somehow messes up, puts in an inappropriate letter, well, not inappropriate, I mean, I don't know what, anyway, if they put in a letter that's not W, B, or P, it will default to narrated walkthrough. So if type choice, the double equal sign is a compare, so it says if type choice is equal to P versus a single equal sign, if you did that, that would just assign type choice the character P, and you don't want to do that. So make sure you're using the double equals. And let me look here real fast. Okay. And this little 2-bar thing, this is, if you're using a Windows computer, this will be above the enter key. It's the straight bar down. That double bar means or, logical or. Type choice equals capital P. So we're just, there's probably a better way to do that, but so we're just checking whether or not they enter a capital P or a lowercase p, it'll do the same thing. So if type choice is equal to P, or if type choice has a capital P, then type, which is the suffix we're adding, will equal, notice the single equal sign, narrated playthrough. And then don't forget your semicolon. Else if, and how else if statements work, if you're not familiar, is if this turns out to be true, then this won't run. But if this is false, this will run. If you just put if here, then whether this is true or not, every single statement will run. So if you use else if, this won't run, and it will save you a little time. Not that much of time, but it'll save you a little time in running the program. So if it's B or capital B, then we want it to be type equals, or it gets the value of blind narrated walkthrough. You'll see why I did it in that format in a second. And then else, if it's anything else but P or B, it'll default to narrated walkthrough. So if it's W or if it's anything else, it'll default to narrated walkthrough. Alright, you still with me? I know I'm going fast, I know I'm talking a bunch, but I want to make sure that you guys understand this, because I think every single person should learn a little coding, and I think this would be useful to some people who have walkthrough channels, especially those who ask for it. Ignore any other input in the input stream. So the next statement is going to, I'm making a comment here to explain what this next statement does. Anytime you see parentheses after a statement, it means that that is a function. So what this does, sorry, I need a glass of water and I don't have any. What this does is, for some reason, I'm not exactly sure why, but if you do not include the statement, it will use, I believe, you know what, forget all the technical stuff. Just know that this ignores anything else that the user might have entered besides that one character. So if the user enters like PW or something, it'll ignore whatever else is in the input stream, and that way when we get to the next thing, which is the description, it won't mess up our program. I'm going to get a glass of water real fast. Hold on. Oh, this water. I have no idea how old this water is. It's been on my nightstand for a while. Yeah. Oh well, it helped a little bit. Alright, again, the \n is a new line, so description, and then we're going back to the get line from the input stream, and we'll put it in the variable description. Again, if you have any questions, please comment, and I'll do my best to answer them all. And we're almost done, folks, I swear. We just have one more function after this. Definitely almost done with this particular function. We just need the suggester. If there is a suggested by, again, I'm looking that up. I need to know if that is a word. Microsoft Word, tell me, is suggester? Ah, what do you, oh, no. Okay, let's change that then. Let's make it, I'm not going to change the variable, but we'll say suggested by, and then we'll leave it at that. And then, oops, wrong one. Okay, we just leave it at that, and then we'll use the get line to put it in the fake word suggester, the fake variable word suggester. And then if that's left blank, so sometimes I don't have a suggester, I just do a game because I want to. If left blank, the document will not display that line. And how we're going to do that is if suggester is equal, remember the double equal sign, if it's null, then is suggested our boolean, that's why we had a boolean, will equal false. So it was not a suggested game, and else is suggested will equal true. So if there's anything I wrote in there, like a username, it will evaluate to true. Last couple things here. We need the game link. If I do a walkthrough, I'll include the link every single time. Game link, and then space, and then get line. Easy enough. And then the last thing is the tags. Now the tags are a little more complicated. Put it on a new line. How I wrote it is, since YouTube requires that you separate the tags by commas, I don't want to do that in my program. So what I do is I enter the tags, and then the program will add the commas and assort them for us. So what we're going to do is make a string stream, which is what this was. That's why we included the S stream up here. A string stream, oh, that's hard, that's a tongue twister too. Tag to add, we'll call it, and then we'll put whatever tag is. So let me bring up a notepad and show you what's going on here. So say I have tags like horror, walkthrough, game, narrated, something like that. So what this string stream is doing is taking the, well, the get line will take this whole line. The string stream will put that line into a string stream, and then that vector of tags we made earlier, we're going to put all those tags from the string stream into the tag, and I'll explain this line in just a second. So, yes, that's correct. So we put this line into a string stream, so this is what our string stream looks like, and then we're going to get these tags and put them into a container. So instead of being just one line of text, they're going to be evaluated as separate strings. So like this. A vector is sort of like a list, if you think of it that way. So instead of being one line with horror, space walkthrough, space games, space narrated, it'll recognize them as separate words. So that pushback statement puts them in the vector. You don't need to understand too much in this while statement. So this means while tag to add is, let me make sure I get this right. Okay, so while we're putting the words from the string stream into the variable tag, it will put them into the vector. So as soon as there are no more tags, this while loop will evaluate to false, and the vector will stop pushing back information. Again, if you're not familiar with all this, this can be overwhelming. Just trust in it for now, and if you're curious, please ask me a very specific question in a message or a comment. So now we're going to, that's the end of our get video information function. Now we're going to generate the file. I guess I should say formatted. So the point of this program is to make sure you can easily cut and paste from Notepad what you want for your video description. So video, we're going to copy and paste this. Declaration down here, and remember, don't include the semicolon. And now we're going to define what we earlier declared up there. So the first thing we're going to do is define an OF stream variable called myFile. What an OF stream is, an output file stream. So we're going to output to this file. And then I have this string. You know what, I'm going to actually take the generated, do I still have that up? I need to open that. I'm going to take the generated file and just copy and paste it right there. I have a copyright note that I always include in my videos for the fair use law. And so I have the program put that in there for me too. So we want to put quotes around that. It's very long, so it'll carry over to the next line, but we want to make sure that it is all registered as 1. So that'll do that.